And we're joined now by California Senator Alex Padilla. Good morning and happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and including those who are probably living a little bit fearful right now because of what we're seeing, these increasingly cruel and extreme immigration enforcement raids. But nonetheless, they're going to work trying to provide for their families.
Well, I want to ask you about your personal experience with some of this. As many of our viewers saw that video of you being briefly detained when you were trying to get a question in to the Homeland Security Secretary. Her office later said you spoke for nearly 15 minutes afterwards. Did you get the answer to the question you were trying to ask? And what was it?
Yeah, sadly, no. And so a little bit of context here. The reason I the reason I was at the press conference, I mean, I was at a scheduled briefing with representatives of Northern Command just a couple doors down the hall in the same federal building when I learned of the press conference. My briefing delayed because the folks I was supposed to meet with were at that press conference. So I asked if we could listen in. I was escorted over, and that's what I was doing. Why? Because for months and months, whether it's in committee, the secretary herself testifying and not providing substantive answers to questions, other representatives of the department, formal letters and inquiries that we've submitted, doing my job as a senator to get information as part of our oversight and accountability responsibility. So to be able to ask a question of the secretary directly, when they offered the meeting after the incident, I took it, but sadly, no, nothing substantive, nothing informative.
She couldn't answer the question, or?
Either couldn't or wouldn't. And frankly, that says a lot, right? In terms
of
the type of, well, among other things, their justification for the federalization of the National Guard, not only not necessary, but counterproductive, as we've seen this last week in Los Angeles, and also just truth. You know, for all the talk about the focus and targeting of violent criminals, if that's all the Trump administration was doing, there would be no debate. There is no disagreement on that. But as you're hearing more and more stories of undocumented long-term residents of the United States who are otherwise law-abiding, working hard, paying taxes, raising families, and frankly, working in jobs that under the first Trump administration, when the COVID pandemic hit, were deemed essential. Right? Workers in restaurants, in agricultural fields, in healthcare, construction, etc. That's who's being targeted now, and that's why there's so much fear and terror in communities, not just in Los Angeles, but throughout the country.
So the vast majority of immigrants in California, we went and we looked at the stats. They are in this country legally, but Pew Research says your state has nearly 2 million undocumented, and they make up about 7% of the entire labor force in some of those farming and service jobs that you talked about. Since the Trump administration this week told ICE to pull back a bit when it comes to enforcement, do you see that as a step in the right direction, and do you know what triggered that decision?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what triggered that decision. I'll take it. Is it a step in the right direction? It's at least a baby step, and let's hope there's more to follow, because they're responding to what I and others have been saying for months, and it's frankly years, going back to the first Trump administration. You know, you want stats? Let's talk about stats. The state of California, the most populous state in the nation, the most diverse state in the nation, home to more immigrants than any state in the nation, mostly documented, some undocumented. This is the same California that is the largest economy of any state in the nation, fourth largest economy in the world, not despite the immigrant population, but thanks to the contributions of so many immigrants as workforce, as consumers, and as entrepreneurs. So again, focus on the dangerous, violent criminals, no disagreement there, but the folks who are otherwise law-abiding, tax-paying, and enriching communities, there's got to be a better way, a pathway towards legalization, a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, farm workers, and others.
Well, that is hoping for movement in Congress that would take some time. I did note it was interesting to see in the House, the Republican Hispanic Conference put forth a letter asking for a breakdown of how many criminals were among those actually deported.
And that was one of the key questions I had for the secretary. Of course, she had no data, had no answer, promised to follow up. I hope. We'll see. And I also want to be clear about this, because when I had the audacity to try to ask a question as a senator of a cabinet secretary. That's what happened. And you saw the response. Everybody's seen the video. It wasn't about me. right? If that's how this administration responds to a senator with a question, don't just imagine what they're capable of, but what they are doing when the cameras are not there to people without a title like a United States Senator, that cruel, disrespectful treatment of so many people who deserve much better.
We see in our polling, on the policy front, we see in our polling that there still is broad support for President Trump's mass deportation policy. Our last CBS poll, as of last Sunday, showed 54% approval. There was an interesting Washington Post piece written by David Ignatius that was pretty sharp about Democrats, saying that they've gotten the border issue so wrong for so long, it's political malpractice, and that he was basically arguing Democrats are handing to Trump the confrontation he wanted with the military, citing actions during the first administration. Do you think that he has a point there?
No, I think
because the public approval is so high of deportation.
But details matter. It depends, as you know, it depends on how you ask the question. If you ask the same people, do they think we should maintain due process in the United States of America? The answer is overwhelming yes. Do dreamers deserve better than the limbo that they find themselves in? Overwhelmingly, on a bipartisan basis, yes. And so I think it's important to break down three things. Number one, do we need a safe and secure, orderly, humane border? Absolutely. No disagreement there. People seeking to come to the United States, whether it's to seek asylum, on work visas, et cetera, we definitely have to modernize that system and be more strategic in those capacities. But we can't forget the millions of long-term residents, people who have been here, working, paying taxes, raising families, buying homes, contributing to the strength of our economy. They deserve better.
You are the ranking member on the Senate Rules Committee, which oversees the Capitol Police. What, if anything, can you tell us about the state of security for lawmakers, given what's happening in Minnesota?
Yeah, look, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. I work directly with both the U.S. Capitol Police and the Senate Sergeant at Arms, and they're doing what they need to do to ensure the safety of members of Congress. But I also think it's more than appropriate to step back and say, why are tensions so high? Not just in Los Angeles, but throughout the country. And I can't help but point to the beginning of not just the first Trump term, but the beginning of the campaign. The tone with which the president had launched his first campaign for president, served throughout his first term, and continues in this term. For a cabinet secretary during a press conference to not be able or be willing to de-escalate a situation when I was trying to ask a question, that's just indicative of the tone.
You wanted her to say, wait a second, I know who he is, calm down, let him go? Is that what you're saying?
The vast majority of people in that room knew who I was. Escorted into that room by an FBI agent and a National Guards member. It's the Los Angeles Press Corps. It said United States Senate on the chest of my polo.
Senator Padilla, thank you.